So why did Noah want to see us?
I don't know. He just said to be here early, so I just listen. I just show up.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Noah, what's up?
So, look, today we're doing Typhoid Mary on the show. And after the Tulsa riots and the Taiping Rebellion, I want to make sure that we're a little bit careful.
Okay. What do you mean careful?
Huh?
Well, it just seems that people have been a little confused lately. I mean, we joke about everything because we have to joke about everything, but I think this week it's important that we keep in mind we're telling an immigrant story, but not just an immigrant story. We're telling the story of a woman who was ill, who lacked education, and who probably didn't know any better. And so while we can joke today, I think it's important that we be a little careful in how we address this subject.
I mean, that makes sense.
I guess I see
sensitive about it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Top of the morning to you, gentlemen.
All
I
right.
made a poopy in your soupy, I'm afraid.
Right away.
21 seconds. Exactly. I was keeping a stopwatch.
Yeah,
Actually
no,
good
I'm
for
actually,
us.
I'm
That
pretty
was a
proud.
new
I'm glad we
record.
had this talk.
Okay, but there's soup. Where's soup?
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts, because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Noah Lutions, and I'll be the cure for what ails you, but I won't be alone. Also infecting this episode are two men who look the way that flesh-eating bacteria smells, Heath and Eli.
Flesh-eating bacteria does smell recessive. That's fair. It's like the color white being composted. That's true. We do smell like that.
Also a little like KFC, which is weird. Maybe don't eat there.
Way ahead of you. And also joining us tonight are two guys whose morbid obesity is only eclipsed by their morbid curiosities, Tom and Cecil.
Okay, sure, yeah, but I am curious about my obesity, Noah. In that what I want to know is just how far can I push this before my blood looks like strawberry quicks? What? Call me when you get to cherry pie filling, buddy. Whatever. I'm working on it. I got plans, big plans. You don't know my plans.
Speaking of which, our patrons are healthier than regular people. It's true. No, laughter makes us more disease resistant. It improves the functioning of our immune system. In fact, this is the only podcast that's been shown in clinical trials. Wait, we can't say this. This isn't true at all.
I'm on trial, Noah, so it's kind of true.
No, that's not how true works, Eli, and that's not what a clinical trial is.
What if the crime was committed at a doctor's office because it just so
still no. Eli, look, being a patron helps us to pay to produce the show, avoid getting real jobs, and pay for our increasingly worrisome legal fees. And if you'd like to learn how to help, be sure to stick around to the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Heath, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
We're going to be talking
just
about
real quick,
Mary.
it doesn't help if you say you're a gynecologist. It's still a crime. Just got that out there.
And if you hover your hand over their vagina and say, "I'm not touching you," they don't
That's
like that.
still not-
They don't like that.
Yeah.
They get
Which
mad.
is that's
Yeah.
bullshit.
They get
Still
mad.
illegal.
Yeah.
Stop fingering yourself. Stop fingering yourself. Or don't. I mean, like if
Mom,
you.
she will keep her clitoris on her side.
Sorry,
right.
Heath, what were you saying about what we'll be talking about today?
Speaking of which, segue.
Let's get classy, guys.
We're feminists.
All right. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about Mary Mallon, now commonly referred to as Typhoid Mary.
Oh, good. And Tom, you seem to infect those around you with a certain amount of general misery. Are you ready to bring one of your heroes to light here?
Well, I've been coughing up all this blood for nothing. I got to get prepared. I'm a method essayist. It's a thing.
Finally, we have something in common. All right, so tell us, Tom, who was Typhoid Mary?
All right. Typhoid Mary was the rather mean-spirited and ultimately quite accurate nickname for Mary Mallon or Malone, an Irish-American immigrant originally born in 1869 in Northern Ireland in the poorest county of what was, at the time, the poorest country in Europe. I have a Google alert to set to see if that changes. Hasn't gone off. Quickly orphaned and often starving, young Mary Malone spent much of her early life scrounging for basic survival, subsisting on nettles and potato cakes, often cooked outside over a peat fire.
Yeah, Scotch s'mores are the best.
Just the Irish kids reading the Hunger Games and going like, what the hell are they talking about? This novel is just plain topian. I can get it.
All right, since it's obviously being Irish in Ireland is a bit worse than being Irish in America, Mary set off to discover America's riches and possibly take stock of its beautiful child-shaped cages for options.
In my day, our cages were puppy-shaped, and we liked it. We were grateful to have a puppy-shaped cage.
Hey guys, just remind me not to pick another Irish topic for a while. We're going to go ahead and...
I don't get to do this voice as often as I'd like to. But you can say whatever you want about Irish people. Oh no, I'm a slave on a boat. I'm a slave on a boat.
There's a lot of worse topics that could have gone into an Eli accent. So let's just be responsible with it.
All right. So Mary arrived on the Lower East Side of New York in 1883 and began, as many young impoverished immigrants do, working as a washerwoman. But like being a washerwoman sucked and the pay was a total nightmare. So Mary did the most American thing possible. She lied on her resume. Mary created a host of employers on a resume that didn't exist at addresses that weren't real. And since people are both fundamentally trusting and lazy, Mary secured work with this resume in the scullery, and she later worked her way up to cook. Mary's story had all the hallmarks for the beginning of the typical American rags to maybe slightly nicer rags tale.
Says here, Mary, you attended the Northern Ireland School of Rustic Cuisine. Extensive experience with nettles and peat fire cookery. Oh, you're hired right away. Just start today if you can.
Sharp.
All right, so beginning in 1900, Mary began to cook for affluent families in New York, and she was reportedly good at the cooking part of her job, but she was not good at basic hygiene, and she was sick. Well, actually, she wasn't sick, and that's kind of the problem. That turns out it's kind of the problem. You see, Mary Malone was infected with Salmonella typhi, which is the bacterium that causes typhoid fever, except that Mary Malone was an asymptomatic carrier, a term which here means basically that her entire body was a Trojan horse typhoid factory.
Okay, so kind of like my DNA. Like, well, if I wasn't bald, overweight, and lumpy with melanoma and moobs. So actually the opposite of my cum. My cum is as advertised, I think is the takeaway from today's story.
Yeah, you are a seller's disclosure in human form.
Asbestos. Sorry.
Seller's disclosure. Jesus.
That's a way better joke than the one I wrote.
You're so mean.
How can a man be a flood zone? That's, I mean, like, I'm not disputing it.
People are just walking away from Heath with their earnest money. Fuck that. I don't want this at all.
You're going to have to replace the basement. That's just a fact.
How do you test positive for radon? That shouldn't even be possible.
He's got someone's installing a vent behind his ear. It's fine. Just don't go down there for a long time. By down there, I mean his balls. Weird.
Nobody will. That's
balls.
fine.
All right. So, Tom, for those of us who didn't grow up in the 19th century or a Guatemalan village, how bad is typhoid fever?
All right. Well, typhoid fever sucks.
Okay.
Yeah. So there we go.
Okay, got it.
And it sucks like specifically badly in the early 1900s because like most diseases other than a common cold could fucking kill you. And it often did. About 20% of people who came down with typhoid fever died from it. And starting in the gut and spread from eating food contaminated with feces from an infected person, typhoid fever is basically, it's that. It's a fever, a shitty, miserable fever. It causes confusion and death in about 1 in 5 people. Because a lot of medical science at the time was basically just a bunch of dipshits grasping at straws and guessing, typhoid fever was often thought of as a miasma disease. It was spread in the slums among poor people who made the air gross by not having money.
Some people still believe that being poor is contagious, Tom. That's why I always wear a tasteful kerchief to reason contest. Just in case.
Doesn't work.
Everyone around him's getting sick. And it's like, man, I can't figure out why. It's like a huge mystery. Can you pass the salt and pooper?
Yes. So Mary Malone at this point probably didn't even know she had typhoid fever. But in 1900, within a few weeks of securing a job as a cook, the people around her started to get sick with typhoid fever. And this might have also been when she contracted the disease. It's not clear since she never developed any symptoms from it. What is clear is that she got the fuck out of there and she moved to Manhattan. And in 1901, she again secured work as a cook. Shortly after her arrival there, 7 out of the 8 members of the household she worked at became ill with fevers and diarrhea, and the fucking laundress just up and died. So just bad luck all around.
Okay, so how much of your own shit can get into food by accident?
Yeah, right.
I'd like to think small amount is the answer, but I'm sure I'll get corrected by
Incorrect.
There it is.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that she carried typhoid bacteria isn't the most distressing part here, right? It's her inability to cook without getting her own shit in the food. What?
All right, so it's not clear specifically where she goes from there in 1901. Until 1906, Mary finds work with the Warrens. It shows a wealthy family who rented a house on Oyster Bay for their summer vacation. The first to become ill was a young daughter of Charles Warren. Then Mrs. Warren became ill. Then 2 maids developed typhoid fever, then the gardener, and then another of the Warren daughters. Soon, 6 of the 11 people in the house were sick. Probably all just a coincidence. I jumped to conclusions.
Okay, just to review. So the people she cooked for got sick. A woman who did her laundry got sick. Also, the maids who cleaned the house where she also worked. And also the fucking gardener? Did nobody notice this woman walking around smearing generous amounts of her own shit on literally everything inside and outside this house? Like, I feel like that's going to catch the eye at some point. That's something see people do.
Well, the nose.
Yeah. The gardener didn't even try her food. He's just out there quality taste testing each new batch of fertilizer. This'll do. Good. That's nice work.
All right. So eventually George Soper is hired and his job is to find out what the fuck is making everybody sick. And he quickly suspected the cook because he's not a goddamn idiot. And Mary Malone, and that's all fine and good, I guess. But Mary Malone just quit. She moved on. Everybody got sick. She left. And it was at this point that Soper began to investigate Mary's employment history. And he discovered that from 1900 to 1907, Mary cooked for 7 families, and at least 22 people from those families were found to have contracted typhoid fever. Mary had a habit of moving on shortly after people began to get sick, and she never left a forwarding address.
Okay, Tom. Well, quick before anybody can speculate on the connection between this and my tendency to move to a new state every couple of years, we're going to take a quick break for a little apropos of nothing.
Who are you?
I'm non-copyrighted puppet friend. And what's this I hear about a live show in Chicago?
Oh, well, that's right, non-copyrighted puppet friend. August 11th, we'll be doing a 2-part show live at the beautiful Victoria Gardens Theater in Chicago.
Wow! And what's this I hear about a platinum night?
Well, that's a chance for people to watch a special show just for them, and that includes dinner, drinks, and a swag bag.
Ooh! What's the special show about?
Oh, God, we had to fucking go here, didn't we? It's about a dead child pageant queen.
That seems inappropriate.
It really is, non-copyrighted puppet friend. Thought that was just a really fun running joke on our show, but it's really happening, and there's supposedly he's bringing props. I don't really want to. Actually, can we stop just talking about this? Really? I'm just
Are there
not.
any tickets left?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we rented a bigger space, so there's 10 tickets left right now to the premium platinum night. So people should hurry to the show notes because we will never, ever, ever fucking record this JonBenet Ramsey episode ever.
Ooh, never?
Not as long as there's breath in my body, puppet friend. Not as long as there's breath in my body. Hi, Mary Malone?
Hello, good sir. Top of the morning to you.
Okay.
What can a poor Irish woman do for you this fine evening?
No, racist. Eli's doing a racist voice. We said no doing that.
Heath, get out of sketch. You're not in the sketch.
I'm gonna
He's not in the sketch.
You're not in this. I'm gonna do a Jew voice. You'll see. I'm gonna do it.
Anyway, Miss Mary, it seems that many of the houses you've cooked for have wait, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just washing out the bedpan, sir.
In the kitchen sink?
I like to get all my work done at once, you see.
Yeah, but that sink is full of onions right now.
Waste not, want not.
Yeah, but I think you forgot to clean the pan first.
I'll give them a rinse and they'll be fine. Now, what did you want to talk to me about, sir?
Oh, I was just wondering if I could hire you as a cook or, if that...
Indeed you can, sir. Indeed you can.
Hi, it's me, Moishi, the brush merchant. I overcharge people. I pretend to be an atheist to make small amounts of money on a podcast.
And since two bigotries apparently cancel out, or at least make us nervous enough to cue the music, we're back. Tom, when we last left off, we had a mystery going that really shouldn't need a detective to solve it, but we had a detective anyway, didn't we?
We did indeed. And Soper was doing a good job. He located Mary in the March of 1907, working fucking unsurprisingly as a cook. Because if you're going to have like notoriously bad hygiene and spread the poo fever disease, this seems like the best possible line of work to keep pursuing. And he located her using the unsurprising method of just like looking for people with typhoid.
Yeah, right.
Using the extremely visible trail of shit and blood, I'm assuming. It's a lot like what we do when Eli gets lost at the mall.
Thanks for finding me, guys. Thanks for finding me.
You got to get one of those leash backpacks for him. I don't know who has to hold the other end, but it would work.
Most of my shit works as a backpack. It's ropey and it stretches.
Oh.
You go to a doctor. I ate a lot of gum as a kid. I said gum. The stuff you chew. It comes out of the end of a guy's dick. Gum.
This time, 2 sick maids and 1 dead kid were part of the body count. So he approached Mary, and I love this because this is direct from his report. I had my first talk with Mary in the kitchen of the house. I was as diplomatic as possible, but I had to say I suspected her of making people sick and that I wanted specimens of her urine, feces, and blood. It did not take Mary long to react to this suggestion. She seized a carving fork and advanced in my direction. I passed rapidly down the long, narrow hall, through the tall iron gate, and so to the sidewalk. I felt rather lucky to escape.
Jesus. She's just screaming, "You can have my feces when you pry it from my cold, dead anus."
Now that is a great Pornhub channel, everybody.
It is.
Check it out. Get in there.
Yeah. Good stuff. Hot dead anus is pretty good too. That's true. Circling back, the detective said he was diplomatic when he asked that stuff. Like, I'm curious how you ask for that stuff diplomatically, like a pickup line. Like, is that urine, feces, and blood in your pants? Because I can see myself in it. Like, what? If it would please the lady, would you do me the honor of a copper shower, please? Like, how do you ask?
I mean, I just want to say, like, this strikes me as a reasonable reaction on Mary's part, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the moral of this tale at this point is don't ask Irish women for their poo. Just like eat their food and they'll give it to you. I'm not good at morals, though. I admit that I'm not good.
I've both been to Ireland and had Irish food, Tom. Those are contradictory instructions.
All right, that is enough. That is our listeners tolerate lots of racism on this show, but this is too much. Also, how do you think the corned beef got the corn? It's a beautiful culture. Is what it is.
If they soak oats in pig's blood and call it pudding, that's not a beautiful
That is
culture.
delicious. Have you ever had that?
No, because it's oats soaked in
ever had
blood.
that. Yeah, he looked at a menu of pig's blood soaked oats and he was like, you know what? I'm going to try that.
All right, so as you guys can tell, Mary was, and this is probably being charitable, somewhat disinclined to shit in Soper's hand or whatever he was asking. But like Soper's not easily deterred, which is good if you're into shit play. Like you got to really back that up. Right? Turd.
You said deterred. Turd is a syllable.
Turd's what gets him. Turd.
There we go.
There we go. For the listeners at home, that's now been changed into D, the word turd in our notes, just so you know what's going on. Everybody.
There it is.
That's not really the word turd, though. That's Eli's rendition of D and the word turd.
Close enough. Has a T in it.
All right, so Super recruited another doctor for help, and he confronted Mary again at her home. And she was not much more cooperative, and she chased the two men angrily from the property, hurling expletives, but much to their chagrin, no feces.
Yeah, no feces. That seems like a second day kind of thing.
For sure. You don't wanna push that too
Oh, Tom, does wacky 90s movie hijinks involving X-Lax follow? Please tell me wacky 90s hijinks involving X-Lax follows this time. A cupcake?
Not quite. Soper was still adamant that Mary represented a public health crisis, and so he enlisted even more aid, and cops, and an ambulance to take her away in. And for her part, Mary was still, shall we say, somewhat reluctant. Again, a quote, this time from Baker's Report, one of the gentlemen who offered aid. Quote, Mary was on the lookout and peered out, a long kitchen fork in her hand like a rapier. As she lunged at me with the fork, I stepped back, recoiled on the policeman, and so confused matters that by the time we got through the door, Mary had disappeared. Disappear is too matter-of-fact a word. She had completely vanished.
Please say she carved an initial into this guy's shirt before she fled.
Well, she smeared it in poop, and that's more of her.
So just a number 2 in there.
Poop Zorro! All right, Mary, not, by the way, a small woman by any stretch. She had run out the back door and jumped a neighbor's fence. Police and the doctors searched for 5 hours looking for this furious Irish woman. And when they found her, this is what happened.
He's fucking fast.
I know.
Kidding, right?
She came out fighting and swearing, both of which she could do with appalling efficiency and vigor.
Efficiency?
I love that. I made another effort to talk to her sensibly, and I asked her again to let me have the specimens. But it was no use. By that time, she was convinced that the law was wantonly persecuting her when she had done nothing wrong. She knew she had never had typhoid fever. She was maniacal in her integrity. There was nothing I could do but take her with us. The policeman lifted her into the ambulance, and I literally sat on her all the way to the hospital. It was like being in a cage with an angry lion.
When you're sitting on her, did she say, I can't breathe 11 times before dying? Or am I thinking of a different story from New York? I can't.
Different story. But it would be funny if she shat herself out of anger, and then the guy was like, finally, let's scoop some of this up.
Shit out of anger.
Okay, yeah, Eli, I'm just curious. In your opinion, what other emotions cause people to shit themselves? Besides, like pride, envy, lust. Like what else does it?
Big time lust.
Lust.
Envy. Someone else shits themselves, gets a lot of attention. You're like, hey, I want to pull some of this focus. So you just remember that you had Indian food and bam. Then it's like, oh, 2 people shat themselves. Is it contagious? It's a fun thing. Yeah.
Jesus.
All right. So, Tom, did they did they literally beat the shit out of her or what?
No, she was Irish, not black. They took samples from Mary, and after they did, they confirmed that she fucking obviously harbored typhoid. Big fucking shock, right? And the media seized upon her and dubbed her Typhoid Mary because probably the typhoid, I'm guessing. It's Mary's still obstinately held not only to her belief that she didn't have the disease because she wasn't sick, but she also continued to defend her poor hygiene. What? She defended keeping her hands filthy. She cited her own lack of illness, and I'm guessing a desire for like impromptu poo finger painting.
Modern art's important. That's good.
She also refused to voluntarily stop working as a cook, even after the authorities explained to her that she harbored typhoid and spread it everywhere she went.
God, she sounds like the Bob Ross of feces cookery. Here's a crappy little tree. No, I'm sorry. That's just broccoli with shit on it.
Still, those follow-up interviews for her next job, those had to be rough, right?
And just like, okay, I see you applied for this job, but aren't you literally Typhoid Mary?
Look, are you going to try my fucking soup or not?
I mean, yeah, I'm going to try the soup, but like answer the question.
All right, so exasperated public health officials had no choice but to quarantine Mary on North Brother Island, where she was held at a clinic for 3 years.
Jesus.
And after 3 years, the health commissioner finally took pity on Mary and decided that they couldn't really confine her just for having a disease. And they made Mary totally promise to stop working as a cook and to start washing her hands after taking a shit. She signed an actual affidavit saying she would try to be less gross and stop making people food. And she was released.
She would go on to invent the subway pole.
And bowls of loose dinner mints at the front.
And eating at Eli's apartment.
All right, so Mary got out and she worked for a few years as a laundress, but again, that doesn't pay very well. And let's face it, like nobody likes doing the laundry. So she changed her name to Mary Brown.
What?
So many other colors you could go with.
Yeah, right?
Or not a color. You could be any last name. She picked Brown. Awesome.
But she picks Brown and she begins working again as a cook. Okay, anybody care to guess what happens next? Any guesses?
She switched it up and started giving malaria to everybody instead.
Very close.
They tried to make the whole country immune to typhoid fever by giving everyone fecal microbiota transplants from Mary.
No, one universe. The whole show, one universe. It is.
Close, but no dice. Unsurprisingly, everywhere she went, people again got fucking typhoid fever. For 5 more years, she changed jobs frequently, and for 5 more years, typhoid followed her. In 1915, another giant outbreak occurred, this time at a maternity hospital where she worked as a cook. 25 people.
Jesus, what were you thinking?
She became a syringe engineer. Jesus Christ.
She's thinking she doesn't give a shit.
Just fucking my
Except for how many shit she gives. Yeah. 25 people got sick and 2 of them died. And so guess what Mary does? She quits. She just quits so nobody can find her. She was only caught by the police after bringing food to a friend on Long Island who she also got sick.
Okay. At a certain point, you have a getting people sick thing, right? Like this is on her at this point.
Right. No, I mean, even if we don't have the sign, yes, I'm a tainted slovenly disease vector admission. At this point, she knows she's the bad guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this lady's the infectious diseases Johnny Crapplesea.
All right, so she's captured again. She's sent once more to isolation on North Brother Island. And again, Mary just refused to cooperate with officials. And although the public was initially sympathetic to Mary, the tide now had turned. Typhoid Mary Malone was now a literal and figurative social outcast.
Yeah, sentenced to a life of sanitary confinement.
And then she escaped at the same time as Andy Dufresne. And he's like, hey, nice work. Did you do the sewer pipe thing too? And she's like, what are you talking about? What's sewer pipe?
He hands her the soap and she's like, what the fuck is that? What are you doing?
All right, Mary lived the rest of her life confined. And although she never acknowledged her role in spreading typhoid, some estimates put the total fatalities possible to attribute to Mary as high as 50.
Jesus.
With how often she changed her name and jobs, it's actually impossible to know. Mary died at the age of 69 of pneumonia, and before her body was cremated, they removed her gallbladder and once again tested her for typhoid. Which she fucking had!
I'm just picturing a guy running out of the coroner's office, spiking it on the ground. There, you bitch! You got everyone sick. There.
I'm curious about the why. Right? Like they still needed confirmation?
Yeah.
All right, now though Typhoid Mary is the most famous, she's not actually the most prolific asymptomatic spreader of typhoid. That dubious distinction goes to Tony Labella, who infected a known 122 people versus Mary's confirmed 47. And his death toll is a confirmed 5 versus Mary's verified 3. Now, other healthy carriers of typhoid also flaunted health official rules to stop fucking making food. Restaurant and bakery owner Alphonse Codles also spread typhoid, and upon being discovered, knowingly violated his agreement to quit fucking doing that. And since he was a dude, nobody stuck him on Sad Face Island to wither and die or whatever. Probably should have,
Yeah.
but they didn't.
Oh, he and Mary could have gotten something going, start a little leper colony. Would have been adorable.
It's like kids who've had chicken pox. Yeah, absolutely. Like, all right, you want to go ass to mouth?
Ass to mouth, ass to mouth because we can?
Yes! We have so much in common.
So much.
Okay, name something else you like to do on 3.
Okay,
You ready?
okay.
Something else you like to do. 1, 2, 3.
More ass to
mouth. What?
This
We're like
date is going so well.
This is going great. This is going great.
All right, and I also have to say that a lot of the articles I read about Typhoid Mary are really quite sympathetic. And there's this general sense that maybe it's unfair to confine and punish someone for something that they have no control over, like having a disease. But that's bullshit. She changed her job more frequently than she washed her shit-covered hands. And she used a number of different aliases to cover her tracks as she bounced around getting people sick again and again, even after being told she was a carrier. So fuck her. Or don't. Guys, imagine her vagina if her hands were that dirty.
Oh, God.
Way ahead of you, Tom. Way ahead of you.
All right, so if you had to summarize what you've learned in one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Don't hire the Irish.
I quit this shit. This is ridiculous.
All right.
You know there were signs
they
that said
quit?
Irish need not apply, Tom?
Yes.
It was ridiculous.
We're allowed to make jokes about that because
I
they're so...
can't have a job. Look at me trying to have a job. I'll go back to my country and not eat any food except for potatoes. I'm going to starve to death because I won't eat any other
Well, and there was a famine. It was basically the... we'll just go ahead.
All right. Well, you can get some revenge here because I believe you've got first question on the quiz. Tom, you ready?
I've washed my hands of this topic, Noah. Unlike some people.
All right, Tom. Which of the following is the best name for a detective who apprehends a poo-themed killer, alias Mary Brown, who won't wash her hands? Is it A, George Soper? It's A, because art wishes it could imitate life.
I'm going to go with A. I'll go with A.
All right. So Typhoid Mary obviously made some mistakes, but she obviously had some good ideas as well. Which of Mary's lessons should we take to heart? A, washing your hands is stupid. I'm not 5 and I don't have that kind of fucking time. B,
Your hands
There's
are
always looking for-
terrifying.
they are. B, there's always looking for someone to do shit work for shit pay.
True.
Jesus.
C, the Irish are crappy cooks.
What the fuck?
Or D, stabbing the guy who comes to ask you questions about a crime you committed is a great way to get him to back off.
I'm going to go with D from personal experience.
That is correct.
All right, Tom. There have been other celebrities who have spread pestilence. Which of the following is the most famous? A, Biggie Smalls pox. B, Harper Lee coli.
Excellent.
C, Lou Gehrig.
Just
Yeah, a whole disease named after him. D, Robert De Niro virus. Or Or E, Jenny McCarthy.
Oh, Jenny McCarthy. Jenny McCarthy.
Maybe you're right. We don't know.
Yeah,
so much
he
VD.
is. He is.
So much
He's
VD.
right. Yes, it's VD, and you're right.
All right. Well, nobody managed to best you this week, so you're the reigning champion, and you get to decide who has to read words for next week, Tom.
Well, I'm going to pick Cecil because he's sitting in front of me and I can remember his name.
All right. Well, for Cecil, Eli, Noah, and Tom, I remembered everybody's name. I'm Noah. Thanking you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, Cecil will be an expert on something else. In the meantime, you can hear more of Tom and Cecil over on the Cognitive Dissonance podcast every Monday morning, and more of Eli, Heath, and me over on the Scathing Atheist, God Awful Movies, and the Skeptocrat on half of the other days of the week. And if you'd like to help keep this show going, you can make a per episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod, or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. And if you want to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes, be sure to check out citationpod.com.
Oh, if only I had a potato to do
Okay,
my potato.
okay.
I'm
I
gonna
did
grow up to be a
9/11. 9/11 was
resistant
entirely my fault. I control the fucking media, and you don't even know about it. I'm a big fan of a country that has apartheid in 2018.
punching my wife in the vagina.
Stay
so she
off
can
the
have another-
goddamn fence.
Yeah, just use however much of that one you want to use.